I'd like to welcome you to this seminar led by my friend Daryl Glaze. I've known Daryl for a couple of years, and I was first attracted to Daryl because he came and spoke at our Toastmaster Club. And his dynamic way of speaking, his engaging way of speaking, drew me in, as well as my friend Harvey Eckert, who's also a member of Midway. But as I got to know Daryl over the years, I got to know him through his message of helping folks in recovery. And that hit home to me because only months before I met Daryl, my brother was found at the bottom of the stairs in his apartment. He had struggled with alcoholism his entire life. And finally, it caught up with him. And he passed away. So that hit close to my heart when I heard Daryl talk about what he does. Alcoholism affects all of us. My father-in-law has been dry for 40 years. He's a great guy now. I think he could be nicer to his son-in-law than he probably is. Nobody's perfect. And last night, my wife had a conversation with her sister, who's also a recovered alcoholic. She's been dry maybe for 15, 20 years. And she said to Tina, my wife, she said, you know, those are the kind of people I have to avoid to keep from drinking again.
Dog, what you got?
So it hits home for me that Daryl's message and what his mission in life is helping folks. Helping folks like my father-in-law and helping folks like my sister-in-law. And wishing that my brother would have had somebody to reach out to like Daryl. My brother was found at the bottom of the stairs, but I believe what Daryl provides is a handrail along those steps that he could have grasped on his way down. But he didn't. He succumbed to alcoholism, and he left a lot of victims behind. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle for his kids. It's a struggle for the families. We all know about it because we all deal with alcoholism or addiction of some kind or another. But that's why it gives me great pleasure to know Daryl. To know Daryl as a person. To know Daryl as a motivator. To know Daryl as a powerful speaker with a powerful message. And with a heart that I truly believe is too big to fit inside that chest. Daryl is a dynamic speaker and an engaging speaker. I'm from Minnesota. I've been in Minnesota my whole life. Passive aggressiveness is my second nature. My mother, I think, wrote the book on passive aggressive behavior. Daryl's from Chicago. He's not going to sugarcoat anything for you. And that's what I love about him. He's going to lay it on the line, but he's not only going to be very blunt. He's going to give you a tool chest, and he's going to give you a network, and he's going to give you a message, and he's going to motivate you. And all of us to take it one step at a time. We all need somebody. Daryl provides that handrail. That handrail that my brother may have grasped. Maybe it couldn't. Maybe some people just can't be saved. I don't know how it works. What I do know, though, is you got to have a chance. Mr. Daryl Glaze gives you that chance. Daryl's been coaching people that have struggled with addiction for more than 16 years. As a certified recovery coach, professional speaker, and member of Toastmasters International, he has a unique and transformative style of motivating people to take action and change their world. And I hear that every time Daryl speaks. Through his YouTube channel, Motivation Through Recovery, Daryl can now change lives of recovering addicts, not only in Minnesota, but throughout the entire world. Today, in his workshop speech, called A Caregiver's View, Helping Someone in Recovery, Daryl will share how to motivate, inspire, encourage change for the recovery to live a full life. It gives me a great honor and a great pleasure to introduce Mr. Darrell Glaze.
Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Good, good. Thank you all for coming. I just want to say that it is a pleasure for me to be here because of the fact that it's all about making sure that people have the right tools to do what's necessary. Did you know that 60% of people who go through addiction recovery relapse within their first year? But did you also know that that number goes down substantially when there's a support system in place or loved ones who help that people or that person through recovery? You are caregivers. And as caregivers, you have the ability to make a difference in someone's life. The only problem is with us as caregivers, sometimes we have a tendency to go a little too far. As us as caregivers, a lot of times what happens is that we want it more than they do sometimes. And because of that fact, we get frustrated, we get tired, and sometimes we just don't know what to do. So today what I want to do is share with you a caregiver's view on how to help someone in recovery. Now, one of the things to first let you know is this, is that I know how you feel because I myself am a person who is a caregiver to the people in recovery, but not just in what I do as an occupation, but what I do in real life. My wife, Kathy, and I have kids who struggle with addictions. And there's been some who could have had some great success and some that have not. But one of the things I want to let you know is that there is hope. And you are the one that provides a lot of the hope. So I want to talk to you today about a couple of tips that can help you as far as being a true caregiver to someone that's in recovery. Number one, first thing you want to do is you want to set your boundaries. You want to set them early and often, as I like to say. You know, a lot of times what happens is that we as caregivers, we want to reach out and we want to help in every situation. The problem with that, though, is that we allow the person who is in recovery to not do a lot of their own work. So you have to be the one that sets the boundaries. Talk about what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. You can maybe have things like, I'm willing to take you to a meeting. I'm willing to take you to go get help. Maybe we can get together, have coffee, and be able to talk through some issues and some things. But I'm not willing to take you all over town. I'm not willing to go pay your bills. And I'm not willing to go pick up your stuff that you've left at everybody else's house. You have to set those boundaries. One of the things that's so important is understanding exactly when a person has no boundaries in place, people will always run over them. And one thing about people in recovery, one of the things that doesn't happen right away is the character flaws change. They don't. They may actually go through and be recovered, not using drugs, alcohol anymore, but the character defect is usually the last thing to change. I actually spoke over at Fairview Riverside on Tuesday night, and I was one of the keynote speakers, and there was another young lady who spoke before me. And one of the things she said, and she nailed it right home, she said, you know what, I've been in recovery for 4.5 years. I haven't touched any drugs since. I help a lot of people get to treatment, go to detox if necessary. But I still have a lot of my own issues I still have to work out. I still lie, I still cheat, I still manipulate. Those are things that I'm still dealing with after 4.5 years. So she's constantly working on herself. When you're a caregiver, you have to set those boundaries because you have to realize that they begin to come in and begin to try to push your boundaries. So that's why you have to establish your boundaries early and often. The next thing you want to do as a caregiver is you want to take time out and say to yourself, it's important for me to make sure that they truly get the help they need. So I'm going to invest in them by asking some questions that promotes change or success. If you look at the handout that you got there at the top, these are some questions that you can actually use. Now, they're not the end all to be all, but here's what's important. Each one of these questions can help you as far as showing your investment of where this person is in their recovery. One of the questions you can ask them is that give me one or two things that you learned today that can shape your tomorrow. Give me a takeaway that you've learned in the last week that you can apply right away. What are your short-term goals? Use what I like to call the SMART system: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. If they just got out of a treatment center of some sort, then you can ask them questions like this, or they're getting ready to graduate, you can ask questions like this. Are you going to continue on the road to recovery? If so, where? In other words, what are you going to do to help out in your recovery? What's your next step? A lot of people, when they get out of treatment, have a tendency not to know what their next step is. I can't tell you the amount of guys who come to me when I say, okay, so what's next? And the next thing they say is, well, I plan on going to get a job. Well, what job are you going to? Well, I don't know. I'm just going to see if I can get one. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you have to try to promote them or prompt them to actually step into something that's going to help them out. So you can go through these questions. So it asks them, I love asking these two questions. It said, do you have a plan in place to maintain your sobriety? Are you going back to school or are you going back to work? Do you have it written down? If you don't, why not? If you do, can I see it? Because one thing about a person who's in recovery, you'll get to learn real quick, and you may have learned to this point that talk is very cheap. They may say a bunch of things, but you want to make sure that they've got whatever they have written down. So you have something you can review them with, go over things with, talk to them about. The next thing you want to do, point number 3, is this. If you are a caregiver, for God's sakes, give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. I can't tell you the amount of people who are caregivers who just don't give themselves a break and run themselves ragged. And that's not good for the person that you're helping. Let's say, for example, maybe you worked a 12-hour shift, or maybe you had a real busy week, and you're always scheduled to get with this person once a week, but today you're not feeling it. Today you're not feeling this is something that you really need to do because you're not in your right frame of mind. You have to be bold enough to say, you know what? I really want to get together with you, but I just can't do it today. I really had a really tough week, and I just wouldn't be a whole lot of help today. And you don't play into the guilt trip that they try to lay on you. The reason why you do that is twofold. One is you want to take care of your own mental health. You want to take care of your own self. 2, they don't need you to unload on all your crap on them. They're in the recovery mode. They're trying to get things right. Maybe they hurt you in the past because of what they've done. Maybe they've done some things that weren't ethical and you didn't agree with. Maybe they did some things that were very traumatizing to you. And sometimes those old thoughts come up. And when they come up and you want to just unload and tell them how you feel, that's not the time. Trust me, you'll get your time in place to explain exactly what's going on and how you feel. But when they're in the recovery mode, trying to get life right, that's not the time. So you want to make sure you give yourself a break. Go on a trip if you need to. Take some time off. Get some of yourself so you can take care of your own self. The next thing you want to do is you want to educate yourself on the person's substance abuse. But don't just educate yourself on their substance abuse. Educate yourself on their recovery process. When the oldest boy was out in Arizona. He had a very wonderful career. He was in and out of jail both in Minnesota and Arizona. But my wife decided to go out to Arizona to go visit him while he was locked up one time. But she went out there not just to visit him. She went out there to take a look at some treatment centers. And she literally found one that she thought was a great fit. And as a matter of fact, she invested herself into this place. She went out, they had a street ministry thing that they did. She went out on the streets with them. She went out and helped, she served, she did all kinds of things to find out what the inner workings of this particular treatment center was. She got all the information she needed, and then she went running to the jail to explain it to the boy. And he was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do this. I think I'm gonna do this. So we waited for him to get out. And when he got out, we waited to get that phone call. And we waited. And we waited. And we waited. Sure enough, he never showed up. The end result of that was they wound up going back to jail again. But this time, after he did his sentence, he said he was going to go. We didn't put pressure on him. We said, if it's going to be, it's up to you. In that process, we knew the day he got out, we thought we'd get that phone call. So we waited, and we waited, and we waited. One day, the phone rang, and he said, I'm here. I'm here. And of course, as concerned parents, we don't necessarily believe him. So he hands the phone over to the director, who Kathy had a chance to really know. And all he said was, we got him. He went on, went through that program, graduated. After graduating that program, he went on to intern there. After interning through that program, he got a job there. He became a supervisor and then a director of the men's program. In that process, in doing so, he now has lived a full life. He works with people who struggle with mental illness. He's married now. He has a kid. He did marriage first, then the kid, praise the Lord. And now his family are living a great life. So take that time out to educate yourself about their addiction. Find out what the brain goes through. Find out what some of the things that they feel and some of the outward appearances they may portray. Take a look at those things, because that's very important. Very important. Next thing you want to do is you want to encourage your person in recovery to give back. One of the greatest things you can do when it comes to getting your sobriety right is having the opportunity to give back to others. Others who may not be well off as you, people that may be in the first phase of their recovery. But get the opportunity to give back, because it can change everything. I remember when we went out to visit the boy in Arizona, and the thing that was so cool was that we got a chance to go out on the streets. And I remember that day we fed about 700 people. And then we got a chance to speak hope and life into people who were struggling in addictions, people who were homeless, people who were hurting. And we were just amazed about the heart that this kid had, because he was the first and he was the worst. And just to see where he's at now is just absolutely phenomenal. Now, the daughter, on the other hand, left a very traumatic display behind. You see, unfortunately, she's still out in her addiction today. And she left a lot of carnage in her wake. One is a 13-year-old granddaughter of ours that we've been raising since the day she was born. The other one is a 4-year-old granddaughter who actually is now the proud parents of someone else through adoption. Because of the decisions that she made, because of the lifestyle that she chose. She misses out on 2 of the most beautiful girls and gifted girls that you ever want to see. So that's why it's so important that you want to make sure that you encourage and you give them the opportunity to give back. The next thing you want to do is that you want to pray, pray, pray. I make no bones about the fact that I am a Christian. I make no bones about the fact that I believe in God and I believe in the power of prayer. Amen. But I'm going to tell you something. It's one thing to pray, and it's another thing to pray, pray, pray. Because if you don't know yet, you will know this, is that these situations will drive you to your knees. And in that process, man, you got to know how to pray. One thing you want to make sure that you're praying, you want to make sure you're praying His will and not your own. I wanted both of our kids to go to Minnesota Adult Teen Challenge. Why? Because that's where I work, that's what I know, and I know it works. They chose not to. We were both upset by that. But one of the things that we realize is this: they all have their own journey. And you have to be cognizant of that they have their journey. Everybody's journey is not the same. So you have to allow them to have their own journey. So you don't pray for your will to be done. You pray for His will to be done in their lives. Because when you do that, then it makes you realize the fact that, you know what, I really don't have my hand on this thing as a caregiver. I'm only here to assist. I'm only here to help. But they have to be the ones that do the heavy lifting. So you have to make sure that you pray, 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 not your will, but His will be done. Because see, once we got that revelation and then the boy did what he did and now the life he's living, we realized, you know what? You take the wheel, because we don't know exactly what to do and how to do it. So that's why you have to make sure that you do exactly that. Pray, pray, pray. The next thing I want to share with you in this, and this may be the most important piece of our time together. Everybody has a puzzle piece. You were given a puzzle piece when you came in here. Did you get the puzzle piece? So the key thing is that you make sure you have a puzzle piece, because this is going to, so you understand exactly what it is that we're doing. I want to say to you this: you are a piece to the puzzle. You are a piece to the puzzle. You have a very unique ability to help your loved one in recovery. You can speak life to them. You can encourage them. You can motivate them. You can come alongside them and help them walk out on this journey. You are a piece to the puzzle, but you are not the puzzle. Understand that. You are not the puzzle. It does not all end and begin with you. You can't think to yourself that, they keep failing because it's because of me. It's because I didn't help them enough. I didn't do enough. I didn't say the right words. No. You are a piece to the puzzle, but you are not the doggone puzzle. You love them, and you make that decision every day to do the best that you can in their life. But if they make the decision to go back out there and to use to destroy their own life, even unto death, you are a piece to the puzzle, but you are not the puzzle. It is their choice. It was their path that they decided to take. It's got nothing to do with you. You got to understand this. When a person is in their addiction, it's not the fact that it's personal to you. It's not about that. When a person is in their addiction, they can care less about the consequences. They care more about getting high, about using, about getting drunk. That's the thing that applies to them. That's what they want right now. And that's why you can't make it personal, because it's like, well, they must don't love me. No. Listen, everything that is good, pure, right, and true with the person in recovery goes out the window the moment they start using and they become manipulative, abusive, and begin to hurt others. That's why you have to realize that you are the piece to the puzzle, but you are not the puzzle. It doesn't all end and begin with you. It begins when they make the decision that they want change. But it's also up to them to make sure they stay on the road to change. So number one, make sure you set your boundaries early and often. Talk about what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. Second thing is you want to ask questions that promote accountability, that promotes success. The third thing you want to do is give yourself a break. Take time out, take time away if you need to, so you don't hurt yourself. The fourth thing is you want to find out more about how their addiction works, what it does to the brain, what it does to any situation in their life, why they act the way they do, so you can recognize the telltale signs. The next thing you want to do is your fifth point is that you want to encourage them to give back, to reach out to help someone else. Sixth thing you want to do is you want to pray, pray, pray. Pray for His will and not your own for their life, because it is their journey. And the last thing is, once again, you are a piece to the puzzle, but you are not the puzzle. Each one of you have the ability to let the person that you are serving that you are somebody and you do matter. And that's the very best that we can do. So make sure that if you want to continue on this journey and help them along their path to recovery, that you approach it from these steps. And I guarantee you, whether they're successful or not, you will come out a lot healthier. Thank you very much.